Hey, this is Bo back in the lounge. We're going to go out to Northern Michigan, get a chance to talk to their legend out there, Coach Bernie Anderson. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Bo. How are you?
Awesome, man. It's been a wonderful, very cool summer for us finally. I enjoy it.
Well, I'm not a hot weather guy, but I'm not a 12-month cold weather guy either. So it's been a little cool here, and we had a couple beautiful weeks, so we can't complain too much. But it's the last few days again here now, right back down to the cool and a little wet, but we're okay.
Yeah, this I love this cool weather because the high schoolers now are. I think every team has been doing 7-on-7 training. They're going to the camps. My two sons are not losing tonnage by sweating to death like a couple years ago. 100-degree temperature out there running drills, and now it's kind of temperate. It's kind of nice. We can actually go out, sit out with lounge chairs, and watch our guys play.
Well, it does make a little difference, and that comfortable weather is sure beats the 100-degree temperatures. I know that.
Now, Coach, you have a lot of stuff going on. You've got, as we heard, new turf going down. You have players and athletes being approached, looked at by the pro circuits. It's got to feel pretty good to be in the position right now that you're in. A lot of good things are happening within your program.
Well, I think so too. We have a concern with last season, 2-8, sure isn't getting it done. But we went out and recruited some junior college players this year to get some immediate help, get the depth we need, and get some mature talent that's going to help us. And we added 9 players to the roster. We'll see how that works. I haven't done a lot in past years with junior college, but we'll try it this year and see what happens.
And that's what you have to do at times is you got to look at alternatives that you never looked at before. There's schools that I know that only look at junior colleges. Other ones do a little bit every once in a while to grab a big kid or take a look at a kid who made bad choices in high school and seem like they got straightened up and they're a for real ball player. A lot of junior colleges got some studs in their program. It just amazes me prior to doing this job. I never thought the junior colleges had that many kids just loaded.
Well, they really do have some talented people, and if you do your homework and you get the character and you get the player that maybe didn't have the money or missed out on the D1 edge, and character is a big issue, and the desire to be at the college level and where they will work on the academics, so it's not just a one and exit. You can get some good players from there, and I think we did.
Yes, and the thing too that is interesting that what you've been doing is that you really are a Michigan team. You recruit heavily from Michigan, obviously other areas. You've got a roster that reads like the top high schools, and one of the top high schools last year was Lake Orion. They fell short, and you've got a guy in your roster there. I mean, when you look at kids from different schools, what do you sort of figure out for yourself what's important for your program? Obviously character, obviously a good GPA, but what are kind of elements you look at as a coach that are important to you?
Well, I think you mentioned two of the biggest one. Do we have what they want to study, and can we predict academic success? Then you go into the character issue. Have they had any issues? Are the coach pretty much telling us they're very good workers and good work ethic and disciplined? And then coming from a winning program. That's important. They know what the off-season work is all about. They know what winning's all about. They know what teamwork is all about. And those are really important characteristics that you want in your recruiting, and that was important to us this year. In Lake Orion, as you mentioned, I think we have 3 or 4 players now from there. We picked up A.J. Gill as well, and Stormer, and so yeah, that's a critical characteristic of what we're looking for coming from a winning program, and that school sure has it.
And and it comes down to like some of these programs roll out like militaries. The teams in the state have, I did not realize prior to this job, I was stammering over my words, how big Michigan recruit kids are. Even though the University of Michigan isn't picking a Michigan kid, it seems like every other school from down south to USC is grabbing Michigan athletes. So you're getting a piece of some of these top kids. It's got to feel pretty good when you look at who a lot of schools are pulling from the state, and you get a chance to pull 3, 4, 5, sometimes 9 kids from our own state instead of going elsewhere.
Well, that's for sure. You want to stay in the state of Michigan if you can. Now, understand in the state of Michigan, it's still where 75-80% of our student body is coming from. Still where 75-80% of our football team roster is coming from. So we do get into Wisconsin based on our location up here and easy access from that area. Other than that, you're right. We stay in the state of Michigan, and now we pull a couple junior college kids out of California. That's an entirely different situation. But you try to stay in the state of Michigan, and the unique thing about Michigan is you have 5 Division I schools and 7 Division II scholarship schools. That's 12 scholarship football programs, all drawing from the same state. And compared to Wisconsin, it has 1, and that's a big deal. So, I think the athletes, the high school athletes in the state of Michigan, get thoroughly recruited, picked over, and get a lot of opportunities.
Well, the other thing that I think that your school offers is that you are in the GLIAC, and the GLIAC historically, the last, I would say, 6 years, and it's even more so now, you have a student that is looking at D1, they're looking at, Michigan State's, they may not quite have what they're looking for, may not quite have the size, but as of right now, the GLIAC is probably one of the most watched programs, even into some of the D1s, for their athletes. There's a lot of athletes in the state that are opting out of the bigger programs and going into the D2s because of visibility and the fact they're going to get playing time, which is really, really big for some of these students. And the D2 offers is that you offer a redshirt program, and they can actually develop inside your program. Talk a little bit about that part of it in the D2s, is that your ability to grow with an athlete and watch him mature, because you've had some studs come out of your program.
Well, we have, and across the conference we have, and Division II really has, and I think you bring up a critical point. Things change over the years, and everybody would like to be a D1 player and play at Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, whatever. But what's happening is the Division II has become so much more competitive, especially with the Great Lakes and Grand Valley winning the national championship 4 years, and others like Saginaw Valley and others getting in the national playoffs now. You're getting a feedback from Division I coaches coming into Division II. I think our conference, almost every school has at least 1 or 2 coaches that have coached at the Division I level. But the other part, I think, Bo, that you bring up a good point, is that there's a strong emphasis on the education and not just the athletics. And a student can go to Division II, get a football scholarship, put the emphasis on the academics, still play a competitive level of football, play on some great facilities, get in national playoffs, and they don't have to be that long shot at the Division I sometimes, and still get a great experience with maybe a balance of everything compared to the D1 emphasis on the athletics.
Yeah, and if you talk to a lot of athletes who've been through the D1 program, it's sort of a mixed bag, because a lot of them who are playing alongside some of the top names, and I'm not going to mention the ones that I've talked to privately because I said I wouldn't, but a lot of them actually had to go back to school, and when they went back to finish off their degrees or get their masters is when they really had a chance to enjoy college. Because in those D1 programs, it is a business 101. You have to produce right away. If not, you are going to be in the practice team or lose your scholarship. In a D2 program, you've got the same, pressures, but in a lot different sense. Some of these students get a really chance to enjoy some of Michigan's surroundings because of how the programs are put together. Not to say you don't have the same demands, but it's not the same business machine out there.
Well, there's no question about that. When you have to fill a stadium at 80,000 or better, and you're on national TV, and that kind of exposure and the pressures are on the ADs and everything, that is a business. Now, you get down to Division II, I feel a difference because, as far as the Division II is becoming almost following in the shirt tails of Division I, there is more pressure to win at Division II. It is attendance. Even with smaller budgets, attendance plays a factor in there. You do have the national exposure. You do have your alumni. You are putting in longer hours. You do have the ADs getting heat about your schools winning, even though you're at Division II. So, and Division II has become that much more competitive. You do have players, like you had mentioned earlier. We put in a $1.8 million new turf. We have a couple players that are being heavily watched by the NFL now. And so it adds a little bit. And when I was at Michigan Tech, and back even as short as 10 years ago, you didn't have that pressure of you need to win. And it's coming down now where our society pressures, money, is you need to win. And not like Division I, but it's there. It's there more than it used to be.
Absolutely. Coach, I want to say thank you so much. We're going to ask permission one more time to give you a call in another 4 weeks to check on the status of summer camps you got running.
Sounds great, Bo. I look forward to it.
Hey, everybody, that was Bernie Anderson from Northern Michigan. Prettiest spot in Michigan, I do have to say. You can Google it, and you can zoom in pretty darn close and check out the surroundings, man. How would you like to have that every day? Plus, you're not going to be out on 105 degrees in the summer losing half your body weight. Thanks a lot, Coach.
You bet. Thank you.
You're welcome. We are off the air. Coach,